Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Doug Schaff. I'm with Remax Oceanside and MakeMaineYourHome.com. This is episode 1 of the show, and this show is going to be designed to help you learn a little bit more about the community, the people, the places, and the businesses that are in it. And today, episode 1, I'm going to be sitting down with Casey Hamlin with NorthPoint Mortgage. I use Casey a lot in my business. A lot of my clients have used him. His service is great, but I thought it'd be awesome for all of us to learn a little bit more about him, where he's from, how he got into the business. I'd love to talk to him about what happened 10 years ago when the economy tanked and maybe how things got either better or worse since then. So anyway, let's go see Casey. Let's do this. All right, I made it over to Casey's office over in Scarborough. What's the address here? I just know where it is.
It's 23 Spring Street,
23
Scarborough, Maine.
Okay, over near, that's like called 8 Corners or something right
Yep.
down the road there. So over near 8 Corners, 23 Spring Street, NorthPoint Mortgage. So Casey, good to see you.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
You too.
yeah, this will be fun.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of get together with you, learn a little bit more about you, and kind of show people watching or listening, what you're all about. Just so you guys know, I use Casey a lot, and his service is just top notch. He's done just a great job for a lot of my clients. So getting to know you a little bit, let's start from the beginning. Where are you from?
So I'm from Milo, Maine.
Milo, Maine.
Yeah, the big city of Milo, Maine.
What the heck is that?
Milo is about 45 minutes northeast of Bangor.
Oh, yeah.
And it's in Piscataquis County.
Okay.
It's got a little over 2,000 people in the town.
Yeah.
And went to Penquis Valley High School is like the area school. So
Yeah, nice.
So
small town Maine.
small town.
Yeah.
Very small town, Maine. Yeah.
Tell me about what was it like growing up as Casey Hamlin? Do you have brothers, sisters?
Yeah. So I have I'm the oldest of 3. I've got a younger brother, a younger sister. My parents were both educators. My father was a basketball coach, and did it for I think like 37 years roughly.
So are you good at basketball?
No, I'm not good at basketball. Not as good as
I sense a little one-on-one going on.
Let's do that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's cool.
It was your quintessential American family, and we had a great upbringing. My parents did a great job with us, and
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, where do you think because you're kind of like me. You're like a roll up your sleeves, get work done type of guy.
Yeah.
Which one of your parents you think kind of helped you become like that? Was it your mother or your father that kind of was like, hey, do your stuff?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. I think I'd get the best of both worlds with my parents and their traits. But
yeah, sure.
My mother was a really hard worker. She still is. I call her on a weekend, and she's a teacher, and she'll be correcting papers on Sunday afternoon while watching the football game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure.
She's always working.
So you just always saw her getting the job done, right?
Right. And my dad was the disciplinarian, so
Yeah.
he was the one that would make sure that, that you didn't make excuses for your shortfalls, and took responsibility for your actions and stuff like that. So I kind of took that from him and took the work ethic from mom.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, neat. That's cool. So what do you do for fun, man? Golf,
Boy,
basketball.
Not enough.
Not basketball. As well.
No, I've outgrown basketball.
Yeah.
In my late 30s here, but I love to play golf. I'm not very good at it, but I like to get out
I've
there.
played with you.
You do know. Yeah.
Although you're better than I am. So.
Oh, well, I wouldn't go that far, but I have some fun with it. It's fun to get outside. It's fun to do really anything outside. Is really what I like to do in the spare time is whether it's hiking, enjoying the outside of Maine,
Yeah.
Maine woods, that sort of stuff. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so really it's just about being around the people you love and doing stuff outside, doing stuff together. So
Yeah, no, I
that's really it.
totally understand that. So let's talk a little bit about your business. How long have you been a mortgage broker, or in the business?
Yeah, so I'm going on 15 years in 2019.
Okay.
So.
All right. So like 2003 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm dying to talk about this, so I'm going to jump right into
let's
it.
do it.
So when you got in the business, 2003, just a few years after that, the economy just went boom. And as most of us know, it was our fault.
For sure.
Not you and I.
No,
but
I agree.
it was real estate, mortgages. That's really what made that happen. What can you tell? First off, what was it like when you got into business? I mean, because that was like the crazy time, right?
Yeah, it was. In fact, that's kind of what got me in the business was, being a young guy, 22, 23 years old, knowing that you could make a lot of money in that business. That certainly was enticing.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
So that's kind of what led me to the business. And it was a cowboy business. It was, there was very little regulation. Looking back, it was an unhealthy thing,
right.
As far as obviously for what was going on. But, at the time, especially for younger people that were in the business, it was harder to understand that because you didn't really know any better.
Right, you didn't have the foresight to say, hey, what we're doing isn't necessarily the right direction.
Right.
Now, I mean, we're probably talking about like the no-doc loans, like that was the biggest problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, was it really like, hey, somebody walks in off the street, says, I want a loan, and, that's it? Or, I mean, what was kind of the process back then?
Yeah, you could get a loan from start to finish in a week.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Well,
when I look at it today, it's like 30 to 45 days. So in a week, I mean,
so that kind of puts it in perspective.
Yeah. But it was really that fast.
It was that fast.
Wow.
Yeah. No appraisals, no income verifications, no asset verifications.
So you're literally going by.
You're literally going
like
by.
If I walked in and
score.
said, "Hey, Casey, I make $80,000 a year. Let's go buy a house."
Yeah,
and
you're the credit score
matter.
that would happen.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember calling my dad because we had a program at the time. I was in the first couple of years of being in the business. I remember calling my dad and saying, "You know what, Dad, you can buy." Because he still lives in Milo, which is outside of Orono, and I wanted him to buy rental properties in Orono. And I said, "Dad, you can buy a 4-unit rental property with no money down."
Oh, jeez.
All right.
Could you imagine?
Yeah. And
I'll take 3 of them now.
right? I mean, and nowadays you need 25% down.
Sure.
On those. Those are game changers.
Right.
So, at the time, he didn't take me up on it because he's kind of old school and doesn't like debt and all that. But,
yeah.
That kind of
probably
gives
smart looking back on it now, right?
Oh, yeah. But a lot of people did.
Right.
You know? So that's kind of an example. I remember I got a loan approved. I remember I got a loan approved based on a newspaper article in the Portland Press Herald, which is the local newspaper here. It was a restaurant review of the customer had a restaurant in Portland. We didn't verify income, and basically it boiled down to the underwriter questioning in that, and to substantiate the number that we had given, we researched it and found a local review on the restaurant and how busy it was, how they were expanding,
right.
And that's all it took.
Oh my goodness! So literally just like.
Yeah,
a review online.
I
found this. Right. Yeah.
It was literally
and that pushed it through.
Review.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
You know?
So it's been quite a ride since you've gotten in. So let's fast forward a little bit now.
Yeah.
So it's cranking for the first few years in your business.
Yep.
Now the economy starts to go.
Yeah.
Now, at the time, I was actually in the construction world, remodeling world.
Okay.
And,
So you felt it.
I felt it a lot. I mean, in my business, it was like a faucet. It was like 1 minute everybody's making a ton of money, living large, and it was almost like one day we woke up and there was just like nothing there. Everything went away. Wow. Was it like that in your world? Or
very similar.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting. I was working for a national bank at the time. And I'm sitting at my office one day, and I just got an email. It said, your position has been eliminated. And I said, okay, that's
that sucks.
I was like, well, that sucks. Because I gotta shut off my email.
Yeah.
But
go home.
Yeah. But it
go
was,
have a beer.
Yeah.
Or something.
Oh man, it was like, because it had gotten so bad.
So what was it that the company you were with went out of business, or was it?
It was.
Or soon after?
They had basically started cutting back, and so they wanted to get out of Maine, and eventually they did. Shortly thereafter.
Yeah, sure.
So it was just it was a combination of the location I was in wasn't doing a ton of business, and the economy was obviously, it was crashing, and so they were kind of.
At that point, everybody could feel it.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So that was something. I mean, my story basically is I entered the business, did pretty well when I first got in it, realized that I didn't think that. That the loans that we were doing when I first got in, I didn't think they were anything I would want my mother to have for a loan.
Right.
I really remember sitting there thinking, I can't sell this to my mother. This is not where I want to be.
Right.
I went to another company, which is the one I was just referring to, and then, basically lost my job and was really kind of had to start over.
Now, talk to me about losing your job, because that's pretty stressful in itself. That's not at that time a lot of people lost their jobs. So what did you do? Were you out of work for a certain period of time, or did you jump right back in, or what did you do?
It's funny, yeah. So what I did is I was 27 years old. I moved in with my mother. Who was about.
You're a boomerang kid.
Yeah, absolutely. I was.
You're one of those.
Yeah. Oh, and I had to sell my mother on it, and her husband, and I said, guys, I'll probably be here just a month if you can let me stay a month just to get on my feet.
Yeah.
And of course, they let me do that, and it ended up being a 6-month affair as far as.
So 1 month turned into 6 months. Yeah.
So
I'm sure they loved it.
It was a good time looking back at it, but without that, I don't think I could have done it.
Right.
Because at the time I needed something where I could live lean.
Right.
No overhead, and I really had to reinvent myself because. I didn't have any relationships outside of the office, so to speak of. I didn't have people sending me business. That were in real estate. I might have a little bit, but nothing that would sustain a living.
Right.
So, anyways, I worked. I bartended on the weekends. I would drive around open houses and drop off sandwiches to real estate agents. At open houses.
So you're trying to build the business back.
Yeah.
Doing what we all do now.
Yeah. I actually took a job. I accepted a job at PowerPay, which was a local credit card processing company.
Yeah, I'm actually familiar with that.
Yeah. And
interesting.
It was a Monday. I was supposed to go to start my job at Monday, and I called them over the weekend and just said, hey, I'm going to give this one more go, what I'm doing, I appreciated the opportunity and stuff, but, and so, I guess I made the right decision, but it could have, very easily could have been a different story for me.
Yeah, sure.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
So when was it that you finally kind of felt like, hey, I'm back on track here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause, I know, the economy was pretty down for a few years there. I mean, really from the end of 2006 to like 2010.
Right.
I think everybody was kind of struggling. But do you remember, when roughly was it like, hey, I'm back in business?
That's a good question.
Maybe you weren't making the money that you were before, or,
right?
That kind of stuff. But when do you think that was?
I think basically it was like probably a year to year and a half after that point where I had kind of fallen to the lowest point, kind of reached rock bottom for me. I ended up making enough money where I could, I rented out a hotel room in Portland.
Yeah.
At the Eastland Hotel, they had rentals there, so it was funny. Oh, it was probably the rental was probably it was probably like it was my friends. I remember I had like a friend from out of town stay with me. He's like, dude, don't let anybody know that you're living like this.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like a janitor's closet.
Yeah. Sure.
But you after you gone through that stuff, you don't jump back into the penthouse suite.
Right. Exactly.
You live lean. So anyway, it was probably about a year and a half of just grinding and
doing what you got to do
and working a lot of hours.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. So So that's great. So now you're back in it, and ever since then, I mean, nothing's ever smooth sailing, but you've been doing this business ever since then.
Yeah.
Now I know since I've met you and started working with you, you've been at a couple different organizations. NorthPoint, though, you seem to be really happy with. You seem to, just from knowing you, you've been here what, 3 years?
About 3 years now. Yeah.
With NorthPoint.
Yep.
Ever since you came here. From my perspective, it seems like you're happy here. You know what I mean? Things are getting done for you and all that stuff. What can you tell me about NorthPoint in general, and what made you choose, this organization?
That's a good question. Well, I talked to NorthPoint previously before I had made a change to another company, and I really liked them. At NorthPoint, it's a small company. It's a New England-based company, where the best way to put it is. When you work in the lending business, on the inside, there's loan numbers, okay, where every loan becomes a loan number. And at NorthPoint, there's still names, okay, to those loans.
Yeah.
If I need something done at NorthPoint, the operations team says, hey, what's the name on that loan? They don't say, hey, Casey, send me the loan number on that.
Okay.
Okay. So it tells you that we don't have, that we're not so big that we lose sight of the person.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to me, that's what I wanted. That's what I really wanted, where I wanted to work, was somewhere that, that they knew that there was a story behind the transaction.
Okay.
And that
right. They're not just solely focused in on the numbers and all that stuff.
Right. It's not about the numbers. It's really about the relationship.
Right. And see, for me, Casey, I'm going to pump you up a little bit here. But for me, one of the reasons that I use you is because I think you take that same philosophy into your own personal business. And your service is really great. I mean, we were talking before we started the show about, your Tuesday updates, and sometimes I even make fun of you when you call me. I'm like, oh yeah,
I make fun of myself.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
So what Casey does every Tuesday is he calls all of his clients and updates them on their transaction. He'll also email or text, whatever kind of communication is great for that customer. But just about every Tuesday I get a call from you, and he kind of tells me what's going on and all that kind of stuff. And it's really been awesome, so awesome that I try to do it in my own business. So tell me about that, just because that's when I think of Casey, I think of that. Yeah. Tuesday. Tuesday's the day, man. So what made you think of that? I mean, when did you start that?
Well, listen. So I built my business up, and I all of a sudden I started getting busy. And I was like, man, I was working 70, 80 hours a week. I'd work all day Saturday, all day Sunday, go in the office, and that's what I would do 7 days a week. And so at one point I got so busy that I was starting to get a little burned out.
Yeah, sure.
And so anyway, to answer the question, I jumped into a coaching program, and the coaching program taught me a lot about how to manage time, and taught me a lot about how to build a team to try to cater to the clients.
Yeah.
And part of that program was this weekly status calls.
Yeah.
And that's what they were, that was their big thing. They're like, you have to do those. And so I started doing them. And, nowadays I literally will not take an appointment from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's the entire day is spelled.
You block that day off.
That is a sacred day for me.
Right.
And even if somebody calls and says they need something right away, I try to do it in between, or my team jumps on it. But really, the focus there is that's an existing appointment that we got to do, because we build our name on that stuff.
Sure.
And we can't. We were talking earlier about the key to that stuff is being consistent.
Right.
Once a week, if you do it once during the transaction, it doesn't really hit home. If you do it every week, people talk about it at the end, and it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to know that people enjoy doing business with you, and that they appreciate the efforts. So,
right.
So that's kind of where it started.
Yeah.
And I've gotten more business from that. I mean, that's probably been one of the number one things.
Right.
That I've.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because it's helped my business too, because it's like, around the office, my admin, Stacy might say, hey, she might, hey, what's going on with that? And I'm like, well, it's Monday. We're going to be talking to Casey tomorrow, so let's just wait. So it kind of does. It helps us too. And I've had clients, rave about that, just saying, I'll be sitting at the closing table and they're just like, man, Casey's awesome. Calls me every Tuesday, so that's great.
Thank you.
You mentioned your team.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of, obviously, like you're out there, promoting yourself and stuff like that. But you got a great team behind you. How many members you got on your team?
So I've got basically we call them loan partners. I've got 2 loan partners. One is Darlene Tilton, and one is Brandy Egan. And basically, again, it was based on that model from the coaching program to really just design a team to cater to your clients. To have like a concierge service. And and I never, I'll never say that we're where we want to be, because I think you can always improve, but we're pretty good. I think we do a really good job of, the lending business is very hard because of what we've been through in the past. It's kind of like, I tell clients when we meet with them, literally, it's kind of like, you got to think about it. We caused the financial collapse of the economy, our industry.
Yeah, sure.
And not only the U.S. economy, the world economy. What happened was catastrophic. And so, the process that people go through nowadays, it's just, there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of, it's just, it's kind of the way the business has evolved. So I think if you have a team in place, then they can help that process go smoother. They can help people, again, stay informed. And I just think overall it becomes a much better process for them, given the circumstances.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so three team members. That's great. You guys, I know both of them. Obviously, I know Brandy and Darlene very well, and they both do a great job. So you mentioned jumping around a little bit, but I think maybe we'll end on the topic of what does it take to get a loan nowadays? We're fast forwarding from 2008 when it was really bad and like the regulations came out. Nowadays it's like, you ask for everything under the sun, and you ask for it more than once. So let's say, I walk into your office and, hey, Casey, I'm Doug. I need a loan. And of course, if somebody calls me first, I'm like, hey, we got to get you pre-approved.
Right.
Let's go talk to Casey. That's the first step normally before we start looking at houses.
Right.
So what's needed right away? What's kind of the process there?
Okay. Well, basically, we gather information for an application. And we either do it via phone, online applications, email. We have 4 or 5 different methods to do that. But and then I prefer to meet with people and sit down and go over their situation in person.
Right.
I think because buying a house is such a big decision.
Right. It's nice to have the face-to-face contact.
I think so. I was thinking about if I was in their situation, and I was, taking out a loan, man, if I could meet with somebody and get to know them a little bit, I think it would make a difference for me,
That's a good point, because, you and I are in the business, so we take a lot of things for granted. I think oftentimes we've got to remember that, you're sitting across the table from somebody who's borrowing $300,000 or, even $150,000. It's a lot of money. So
it's typically the biggest investment in their life.
Right.
So if I were them, I'd want to know that person. I'd want to know about them. I'd want to see where they work and make sure
you're not working out of a janitor's closet at the Eastland or anything.
Yeah, right. Those days are long gone, but
exactly.
But so to answer the question as far as what you need, that we ask for a lot up front when we meet with somebody. And the reason we do that is because it is such a big decision for someone, that we do that for a number of different reasons. One is we want to make sure there's no surprises once they move forward. That's the biggest thing is if we don't ask.
Oops, I forgot to tell. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that's. I think that being in this business long enough that you need to have a high standard for your quality of work, and I think you need to. I think if you're going to put something out there that says somebody qualifies for a home loan, then you should see a pay stub and you should see their tax returns, and you should have verified that information so that they don't go through the process spending money on appraisals and inspections and planning to move their entire family and find out that there's something that comes up that as a loan officer you could have prevented.
Right.
You know, and I just think that that's the right thing to do. So
right. Nothing worse than that feeling like, oh crap, I could have done something about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you know, I mean, because the industry is hard, I think that that's important, and so we do ask people to provide a lot up front, but we do it so that they don't have to provide a lot further down the road.
Right.
You know, and that we can eliminate any of those issues that sometimes somebody doesn't understand or know that the risk that they may represent,
yeah,
or a situation of theirs. So if we can eliminate that stuff up front, man, you know, it'll be that much better going forward. You don't have to deliver bad news or
right,
or you know, or
smoother sailing through the process.
For sure. So,
yeah, sure.
And we also get a lot of business that way. You know, there's been some people that have been turned down by other banks and lenders. Because the loan officer just didn't do their due diligence.
Right, because they look more at the surface. You dig at least a little bit deeper to kind of cover all your bases.
Yeah, I mean I don't want to say forensic, but we are somewhat forensic in our approach, because you know there's been times where you know a parent might pay a student loan for the child.
Sure.
And that wasn't asked, and that was all it took to make the loan work.
Oh, okay.
You know,
yeah.
So those are the types of questions that we ask when we sit with people, and go through with them, so that we can make sure that, you know, they can get the house they want.
Yeah, nice. So people come in, you go through all that stuff, you get them pre-approved. Then, of course, I take them out and find them a house. Then once we go under contract, do you have to re-verify stuff? Or, like, does it go right to I know the appraisal process is quite something that we're always battling with as far as timing and stuff like that. But appraisal gets ordered, I know, almost right away. Mm-hmm. But once we go into contract, what are you getting from the clients at that point? Or do you already have everything you need and are able to move it along?
Well, you know, I guess everybody's situation is different. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it is situational in that sense. But, you know, what we do is we ask for paperwork. We start out with asking for the paperwork up front, and then, we have to get paperwork throughout the process, because an underwriter is ultimately the person that will sign off on the application. Okay. And what they do is they just verify the information on the application is, you know, their documentation supports it. Okay. And, you know, and their job is to measure the risk of the application. So sometimes they have concerns or questions that we have to get, you know, clarification on. Right. And so therefore it can lead to more requests.
Okay. So now, in my experience too, sometimes you might not 100% know what they're going to ask you for. Like the underwriters, right?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean,
I know you've been doing it a while, and you can kind of make your guesses, but sometimes they might throw a wrench in it.
They can.
Or not a wrench, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, they can.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like you might have some concerns over, you know, I might present to you something that you might have concerns on personally that I might not.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
I mean, we could say that about really anything.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what you deal with in the banking world, is that, you know, you get somebody that might feel absolutely comfortable with something that you might have thought could be an issue or could be a concern, you know, and vice versa. So, you know, you have a human element to the process where, you know, that does require a work through.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So ultimately, ideally, everything goes smooth, and then we get to closing, and everybody's happy. Right. That's the ideal world.
Absolutely.
That's what we strive for. Anything else about the process that you can think of that, you know, might be valuable to some people?
That's a good question. I guess it would be to, you know, it's kind of like, the process is kind of like, I've compared it to like whitewater rafting, where, you know, if you know, I went whitewater rafting once, and we had a really good experience. And then I went one time where, you know, where a couple people in the raft hadn't listened to the guide, and but as a result of that, we end up in some serious whitewater, and got a little hairy.
Got a little hairy, yeah, sure.
And so my advice to people that are buying houses are to listen to the experts, listen to the professionals. By all means, ask as many questions as you need and as you want, but, you know, to listen to them and follow their advice, because they're the ones that are going to steer you away from the whitewater, and they're the ones that will make sure that you had a good experience in the end.
Yeah.
You know, and so
that's a good point. So have you you know, I always know there's some do's and don'ts that you're not supposed to do. You ever have anybody just like, you know, say, hey, I'm buying a house, and all of a sudden you find out they bought like a $60,000 truck or something like that, you know, right before closing? Any funny stories like that?
Sure.
Thankfully, I'm going to knock on wood, have not had that happen yet.
Yeah. Well, we were at the closing table, and one of the documents they signed says, hey, you didn't take out any new debt since we've started this process. And the customer said, yeah, I went out and I got a credit card yesterday, and in my mind, I'm like, oh gosh, please say no.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I know everybody's kind of like turns their eyes at me, and I'm like, oh boy.
Oh no.
Well, I'm like, well, look, if you did, then we've got to deal with it. And you know, a few phone calls later, you know, the good news is that nothing got delayed.
Oh, good. Okay.
It took maybe an extra half hour to an hour to resolve.
Okay.
And we did have to verify what his payments were and all that. But
Right.
you know, so you know, short story is don't go out and do that if you
Yeah.
can at all you can all prevent it. And if you do think that you need to or something, obviously consult with your loan officer, because it's you know, you need to know if that would impact your ability to
Right.
you know, to qualify.
Well, nowadays it seems like it seems so easy to get credit cards and stuff. I mean, you know, you could be standing in line at Home Depot and they say, hey, you know, you can save 20%.
Right.
And you know, if you say yes to that,
Yeah.
you know, you might not be thinking like, oh yeah, I'm buying a house, you know, but that can certainly affect it, right?
Yeah, especially this this time of year, which is, you know, the Christmas time.
Right.
You know, a lot of people
yeah.
are buying things
True.
on Amazon and stuff like that
Right.
you know, and racking up credit cards and that sort of thing. So
Right.
yeah, so if they do it, they just need to communicate. You know, really that's the bottom line, is communicate and be forthcoming about it, because the lender will find out. There's things in place that will prevent.
One way or another.
Yeah, there's one things that are in place from behind the scenes that prevent a lender from getting in a situation where they didn't see if the customer had taken out any new debt to qualify.
Yeah.
You know, they do a soft credit check like 10 days prior to closing, and so you know, there's been not always, but every now and then there's people that do that. And,
Right. Something
you know,
falls in.
and the other thing is if they've racked up credit card debt, that'll show up there. So
Okay.
somebody could start out with a credit card with a very low balance, and if they put $5,000 on it,
Oh, I see. Like they're just out there using it. Yeah, sure.
that can also impact them. So
Right. Yeah, makes
you know,
sense.
the easiest way to prevent anything from happening once you go into contract on a house from a finance perspective is really just keep the status quo
Right.
and really try not to do anything that would be different from the time that you applied, as far as you know, debt or income or anything like that.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Well, geez, man, this was great. You know, kind of, we'll sandwich this whole thing with a little bit more about yourself here. Where do you live? What town are you in?
South Portland.
Okay.
Yep. And
What's your address? No, I'm just kidding. Go say it. Now, you're married.
I am.
How long have you been married?
I've been married. She's gonna kill me.
Oh, geez.
2004. 4 years.
You know she's watching.
She's probably gonna
listening
see
right
this.
now.
Yeah.
She's gonna see this. 14 or 15.
Honey, you didn't know that either.
Yeah. Okay. Don't worry. We'll cut this out.
Okay. Please do.
And that's great. And how many? You got kids?
I have one son. We have one son. He's 2 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's been a really blessing. It's been a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
you know, and thank God for washable markers.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
No, but it's been great. You know, it's
2 years old, so he's walking around, running around.
He's walking around.
He's talking back to you. Just
oh
starting,
yeah, he's
just starting to.
Yeah,
Awesome.
he's certainly learned that word no, and you know, and it's always best thing about it is every day there's a new, you know, something new. You know, he's doing something new, he's learning something new, and you know, I mean, you know, you've got kids, and you know,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's eye opening.
It is. It's really good. So it's a fun time.
Yeah.
So we really enjoy it. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, this was great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for taking
Doug.
the time.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, hey guys, hopefully this was helpful to get to know Casey a little bit better. This was episode 1, so leave some comments. Let me know what you thought about it. If you have any questions for myself or Casey, leave them in the comments. You can also send me an email at doug@makemainyourhome.com. And of course, if you know anybody looking to buy or sell a house, give me a call. Thank you.